Just take one hit. Don't you want to be cool?
Gather round everyone. The show's about to begin.
Turn on, tune in, drop out, this show's amazing. It's Super Lemon Haze, you know them boys always blazing. Put one in the air, fill your glass and get to raising. Kirkman praising, school flag waving. Chopping up the topics instead of choking on some chronic. Scott and Eric breaking it down like 21st century prophets. Eyes glazed and minds dazed, it's knowledge they convey. Roll up and consume the Super Lemon Haze.
Super Lemon Haze.
Going to ask you several questions.
Super Lemon Haze.
How do you feel?
I feel like a slice of butter melting on top of a big old pile of flapjacks. Yeah.
Super Lemon Haze.
Super Lemon Haze, motherfucker. Welcome back. Another week.
Another week.
Yeah. Weeks are flying now, man. Fucking halfway through. More than halfway through.
Summer's almost over, just like that.
Sucks. Wow. I was watching a lot of weed YouTube.
Oh yeah, what have you been into?
Yeah. No, I was looking at there's a name for it. What's the convention in Las Vegas? It's MJ Biz.
Oh, I've heard of that. I don't know the name of that
No,
exactly.
I
I
think it's
couldn't
MJ
rattle it off. Didn't do it justice. What
No.
do you got? Is it just the big like national convention?
Yeah,
of
the
all
national convention. The last one we had, I think, was the last one they had was in I think it was in the fall of last year. It was right before all this shit happened. So who knows what's gonna happen with any types of conventions going on.
What'd you see in the videos? What was being highlighted?
Yeah, so it was cool because I was getting a sense of the people who were there. I was getting a sense of the products that there were, some that were selling, some that they were giving out for free. I think what was interesting to me was I caught on to another show. I forget the name of the guy already, but I think it was Weed Talk. It might have been called Weed Talk.
Okay.
And they were talking about the convention and just saying how it's changed dramatically since the regulations of marijuana started to pass throughout the country.
Yeah, I would imagine it was like this underground cult meeting, and now it's like, I mean, I remember when we were kids, like High Times was like this, like, sort of like, I don't know, like underground magazine publication, right? It was like
Right.
the back, you could find it in some back shelf somewhere in the
Right.
back of a
Like 7-Eleven or something.
yeah, the 7-Eleven, like next to the nudie mags.
Right,
And, like,
exactly.
now it's like a national, like big, huge publication.
Yeah. Although they're not doing too well. They haven't a lot of. They've been having some bad press.
Yeah, it's
so,
not great. It's not
yeah.
great with them right now.
No.
But they still have but they still have a strong, like, it turned into, and the whole industry fed to like an online presence and like it's like mainstream.
Yeah, but it was so I guess what I was really trying to catch on to and learn a little bit more about was that transition period between when it was sort of like the, what are we calling it, like the black or the gray market or the illicit market, and when it transitioned into the more regulated market, mature market or legal market, I guess. And so I was listening to a bunch of people speak about it, and some people were obviously completely in favor of bringing in all of this new attention. I think for one, it for people who are trying to make a living and making a business out of it, it's great. I think for people who are just a part of the community, people who are just who just love cannabis and have been a part of cannabis has been a part of life for a very long time. I think they're looking at it as a bad thing, or as like, some people were even interviewing and saying they're not going to come back just because they said there was too many chads.
Yeah. There's a lot of, but this was what happens when you get mainstream. You get a lot of just like bros and popular people, and then you get these random kitschy products that are all over the place now. Like there's so many spin-offs of things, not to put them in a category like that's total cheese, but like Purient is a perfect example. Like they're a more legit company, of course, and they have a like legit process and a demographic that they're appealing to, and they have a desired effect, of course, for what that is. But that is a spin-off product of the cannabis industry, if you think about it. Like so many other things. That one the one that like is a grinder and a ashtray all in itself, and like all these random, like the Super Bowl that cleans itself and like is easy to smoke. Like there's all these random like little kitschy products that like come from that. And I would imagine that people that are just either really into certain strains or growing, or they're just, you know, some sort of medical provider, or they're into the health and wellness of it, they're like, get this shit out of here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, it brings money to the industry. It takes it out of that gray, quote unquote, gray market.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good overall.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like a lot of the conversations we've had recently, the illicit market or the gray market has always come up to some degree. Whereas I feel like even as people try to become more legitimate, you know, people want to get into the business where it's legalized, regulated, they're still participating in that illicit you know, arena. Well,
the more it grows, the more there's more opportunity for everything. Whether it be an ashtray or a fucking blunt roller, you know, or whatever.
There's also something that you know, I think, I forget if it was Mara or if it was Chief, but one of them mentioned about being a caregiver. I actually had no idea what that was. I heard the term, and I thought that I guess in my brain I kind of translated it as somewhat similar to the nurse that or the nurse practitioner that certified me. I thought that was a caregiver, but so you knew what a caregiver
there was
was?
a couple well, there was a couple of things that you could highlight from what Chief was saying that he kind of glosses through a bit. So, and like when he got back and got into weed after he got back from his service, and he was saying how he was a provider for a while, he kind of just quickly said that. Essentially, he was one of those guys on Leafly. Now, what was happening on Leafly was we were approved for medical, or things were things were decriminalized. Everything was decriminalized. And then what we basically had was we had like Weed Maps and Leafly people like going on an advertising delivery service. I actually did it a few times myself. Like, so you didn't have to go to a dispensary. You could basically just put an order in, and somebody would come and drop it off to you, and they would quote unquote read your card and check out your medical card real fast.
But did you have to get assigned to a person? Because I feel like that was what I was trying to understand.
The way it was supposed to be set
right
up,
where you just get like a single patient or something.
And it really just I don't want to comment too much because I don't know exactly, but I think basically it wasn't getting tracked the right way or something. But there was all these, you know, these providers that were kind of all out there delivering, and they weren't dispensaries, they weren't legal, like they weren't really, it was definitely some gray. And out of nowhere a few years back, all of a sudden Leafly had to like stop promoting that. Like there was this big announcement on the app, like we can't advertise these, we can only advertise real legit brick and mortar stores as dispensaries now, because basically it was like a guy's courier service, and it was, we're a dispensary, and it was like,
so but delivery is legal, right? I mean, I know now that they're starting
delivery through the brick and mortar, but I'm talking like 2016, like I'm talking 4 or 5 years ago. They were like these independent providers,
right?
And
did they have to get licensed through the Cannabis Control Commission in Massachusetts? Do you have any idea?
There was like a little bit of a different license. You can get your own license, or you could get a caregiver license. But I think the caregiver license, excuse me, only you could only get like, I think it was only up to like 6 or 7 patients or something. It wasn't it wasn't, you weren't allowed to just go around slanging weed to whoever was Venmoing you, or at the time PayPaling you some cash for an eighth or whatever it was.
I mean, I do think Mike Crawford was posting about the,
and that's what happened, Mike. So Mike was talking about this, and this was like an industry thing that was happening. And what happened was, like Chief was saying, it got somebody busted. So Chief was making his moves, and he wanted to get promoted, so he wanted to go on there. And so Mike's like, no, I'm not doing that, because if I expose you, they're going to track you down and get you.
That's interesting. But I think there are some new regulations being proposed. I think they're being voted on sometime later, but I feel like, because like it came up recently, that's what I was catching on to all these, like,
delivery stuff, you mean?
Well, there's a delivery component to some of the new regulations, but also and I think I'm not sure if it's the size or the amount, but there was also there was a caregiver thing.
Well, there's this, and Grant was talking about on that Shalene interview too, that's like their biggest idea now, is that almost like the Uber Eats of deliveries too. So they're going to allow dispensaries to do some form of delivery, which sounds like it's going to be pretty tough to get achieved. Like you're going to have a lot of regulation and rules around that. It's going to cost some money probably. But then there's this other version that they've also proposed to go with it, which is like this Uber Eats sort of model, which is like like
where you can
other people can go take a profit for getting it from the dispensary, and then of course, like, and kind of like my function, make some recommendations, be a caregiver, doctor type, and then bring that to them for a markup. Kind of a la Uber Eats type of setup.
Where they're sort of was it called a vertical integration? So they're sort of de-verticalizing.
They're trying to do that. Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to allow people to step in certain areas and not have to have all three pillars with millions of dollars of investment. So at this point, if you had a car, an app, you had investment to buy weed up front from dispensaries in a certain amount. Like, it's a little investment to get yourself rolling. Basically, you can become a drug dealer too.
Right. Why are we getting into the weed business?
Well, I don't know. Probably because we have day jobs, unfortunately. You can't be I don't think you can pick an hour a week to sit down and just
I'm thinking about all of our real estate transactions. We should probably maybe we should diversify and invest in the plant.
Sure. Or with all these real estate transactions, we should be buying some property where you can actually grow weed on.
That's actually even better. We should buy a property. We should buy a farm in where, in Maine?
I'm hearing they're all getting crushed anyway, though. And that's the problem, is now that the more the stuff gets deregulated and decriminalized and more states go rec, the value of the ounce just kind of continues to come down. I told you, I went to Maine and bought weed up there. It was like half the price. It was crazy.
So all this searching though also was triggered by this little toy.
Yeah, you got a cool little toy. We were talking about last night.
I mean, it was like, I've been carrying the C-cell palm for a long time now, probably 4 or 5 months, and I've been happy with it. But I think what I was starting to feel is that it didn't have enough juice. So whenever I was getting certain, because I was playing around with the different cartridges, different like the sauces or the
those
whatever.
Sauces need to be heated up hotter.
And so basically, I felt like I was trying to pull. I was drawing really hard on it. And I wasn't getting anything out of it.
The more you pull isn't going to add power. It only has one
exactly
setting.
So I was started to research some of the multiple volt or watt, whatever it is. Not amps.
Watts, I think it is.
Watts.
Yeah, volts or watts, one of the other.
One of those.
It's not ohms.
No, it's definitely not. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's I think
that's. Yes, I found this. It's cool.
And we were talking about that's why I had that other old school pen, because I could actually kind of make different adjustments and stuff like that, and you can kind of set it. But we've talked about, and I love that you already had like a ton of interaction, like a couple of points that are coming to my brain. Like, first of all, you had a ton of interaction about that already just by like posting one picture on chilling out on a Friday night or whatever it was.
No, it was last night
or the other night, whatever it was.
Night.
Yeah, sorry, that's how slow things are going right now. I guess.
Exactly.
And then the other thing I thought was just interesting is like, you see me, people will respond and say, I'm just getting into vapes, or I'm just interested in, I want something simple or something like that. That's actually why I recommend something like that C-cell palm thing, or those other ones, those Entourage singles from Sierra or something like that. Something that you just pull on, that's you don't have to worry about pressing buttons or blowing up. Because the other thing is, like, you hold that button down for too, like I can tell you from personal experience, that button in my jacket pocket, I've had like in a fucking suit pocket. I've had that vape in a front pocket, and I've leaned into something. And then it's like, not only is it fried, the button's getting pressed. It didn't get a hole in my suit, but it definitely, like, oil was everywhere. And like the oil stained the fucking suit. That was the end of the road for that jacket. Like that was it.
So that was, I mean, so I did look up. I was looking up a couple different models, and then obviously I did a little bit of some digging in the reviews, but if you can see, it's just like a little, this is the battery. So it just looks like the end of the pipe. So I thought that was cute.
And what's good, but you need to point out, is that it presses on the top of this pipe. So it's also not gonna, if it's against your side, it's not gonna, it's in your pocket, it's not gonna hit. It's only if you press on the very, very top of this thing, which is much better.
And this is just I think it's like your
regular 501 thread.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just
but
that was actually part of the reviews, because the majority of them were positive about this model that I posted. I actually did it through Twitter, so you can check that out and follow that link. But the majority of it was like, don't screw it on too tight, because you could essentially either jam it in there and you won't be able to get it out. And then they were also talking about the overheating component. So if you do too high of a voltage, you could essentially fry the thing, and then you're fucking screwed. But
yeah, and again, that's remember when we were in Florida when all this came about and we started with all this conversation. What were we dealing with? We were dealing with a pipe that wouldn't hit. Remember,
Yeah.
we were dealing with a cartridge that we couldn't get to hit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it came through, and I said, "It's Super Lemon Haze. This is a great thing." Because remember that was your wife's cartridge at the time, and that battery that was being funky.
Right.
And a lot of people, I can't tell you how many times I've had people reach out to me and be like, "This fucking thing doesn't work.
Right.
This is what am I doing with this? This isn't getting me. I'm not getting." They think they're hitting it. Sometimes they think the vapes. You don't know if it's
right.
You don't know if it's smoking.
Right.
You can kind of taste it. You don't know what the hell. And if you don't have experience with this, you have no idea what the hell's going on. You're like, I think I'm hitting, I can taste it, but I'm not getting hot. What the fuck is this, Scott? People freak out.
Yeah.
Buy these like Entourage singles, or use that C cell. You just pull on it.
Right.
So much deeper.
Right. It's reliable.
Once you get into it, and then as you see, just like you've done, now you're not a novice anymore.
Yeah.
Now you're like, wait a minute, I want to fucking taste this thing at a different temperature. This is going to be good. But you gotta get used to it. Gotta get used to it.
So I mean, the bottom line is that once I started using this and I was just trying to play with the different voltages, I went to like there's like a low, medium, and a high.
Yep.
The low one was the same effect as the
C cell.
It was like, and so whatever voltage that was, I was getting the same, I don't know, vape out of it or whatever it is. And then I went to the middle one, and it just like that one I just pulled. That was great. The medium, and so I'm like, I'm not going to go any higher than that.
No, because then you'll also burn off the good stuff, and you'll be left with a bunch of you'll be kind of left with contaminants at the end there.
Yeah, well, that's what they also talk. I mean, this is again part of the show was talking about flower versus vapes and sort of like the changing culture. Where the vapes obviously is less older, more convenient, it's cooler. There's it sort of appeals to the younger generation because it's like some of them have apps. Some of them you can. Some of them have like this whole component where you could like fucking track like the ingredients and like it's just crazy, like to the micro.
Yeah, I mean those are they are a science experiment. Like at the end of the day, a plant is still a plant. It's going to grow. It's going to have its own characteristics, and then how it's grown is going to be affected. This stuff, you extract a bunch of cannabinoids, fucking centrifuge them together and pop them into some kind of vitamin E shit or whatever it is that they make these things with, and off you go. It's like
but it was, I guess, part of the concern for me honestly was it did talk about the metal. There's a lot of metal in here. There's metal coils.
It's a lot of talk.
I mean, and it's hard not to believe anything about what happened in the fall when they were banning the vapes because of contaminants and things like that. So it makes me think, maybe I should start changing my consumption of different types of products.
Well,
I mean,
as we said, you are getting your cartridges from probably the toughest regulated place in the country, because we actually had this ban and then put these poor bastards through the ringer to sell their goddamn vapes again here in this state. So you are getting the best ones. However, there's nothing wrong with moving on to a little bit of flour in your life, my friend. All good there.
Yeah, so Scott and I were talking about that, and so actually part of the episode that I was watching today on the convention, it was showing some of the different products. So I actually did buy something.
What'd you get? You just bought an internet purchase?
Well,
internet weed product purchase?
No, it was one of the vendors, and I liked what they were selling. It was basically it's almost what you were joking about in the beginning, not like an ashtray that cleans itself.
Okay.
Like the fucking Roby or whatever called.
That thing is,
Yeah. No, this is it's a one hitter. So, for me, when I was thinking about, all right, I'm going to start smoking flower now. I want to start experimenting with different varieties of flower and seeing how I feel versus what I'm getting from the vapes. I didn't want to, because I'm doing it partially for health reasons, also for a desire. You just want to see what the effects might be, right? If I'm thinking like I don't want to fucking suck on battery, I also don't want to start thinking about sucking on paper or whatever. So I didn't want to roll joints.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
So what I was thinking was just getting some sort of like ceramic one hitter, which I've used before when we were on vacation. The last time I had a great experience with flower was when we were away, because I can kind of control the micro dosing. So like, again, I'm not a fucking pothead. This is not something that I've been doing the majority of my life. I truly identify as a medical patient. I'm doing this.
So you're looking at a straight pipe one hitter,
basically,
with a ceramic. Yep.
Yeah. So this thing. Where's my fucking telephone? I'll just call it what it is. But it's basically like these three things in one. It's a storage component, right? So it's like the size of a lighter. So it's got a storage compartment for ground up flour, and it's got another side of it that's got the one hitter.
Look like a cigarette.
The device itself looks the one here looks like a cigarette.
That's called a dugout. That's a great little tool.
Yeah. So
that's an old man's tool too.
Yeah.
By the way.
So
you were gravitated right to an old man's tool.
Well, I am an old man. So they actually.
I remember finding weed in my parents' house when I was a little kid, and it was in a dug. They had weed in a dugout, and a little they had a bunch of scraggly weed in a bag, in a baggie, and then a fucking dugout.
So this is.
I have a dugout too, by the way.
Nice. Can I? So actually, so this is a type of dugout because they actually use that term. I had no idea what it was. Well, so
it's a dugout the company, because the weed sits in the little bottom, and you just dig into.
Well, you just like you put the
fire that thing up. So the thing about a dugout is you're gonna have to clean it a lot because that little tube is gonna get clogged up all the time.
This is why it was so appealing to me because they have a lifetime guarantee on it, and they're saying that it's uncloggable, like it's uncloggable.
Yeah,
but uncloggable.
Clean it. Yeah,
maybe, I don't know. Yeah, so the company's called Smosey, and I just bought this Smosey carbon fiber one hitter. It's a kit.
Nice.
But it's got, so the cool thing about it though is it's got this like system where you sort of snap it in, and then you take your ground up flour and it's got like a little, so what you snapped it into is kind of like a funnel, and the funnel's got a wider mouth, so you're not like making a fucking huge mess.
Right.
So you basically take your ground flour, and I'll probably do what you said too, because I don't know if I want to go through the whole like nugget grinding thing, but you said you can get the pre-roll.
Yeah, just buy them pre-roll and they're already ground up, and use that. And then you actually untwist it and then dump that into the dugout container.
Yeah, so that's what I think I'm about doing. Just to save time and energy.
Yeah. But we do need to. I'm gonna have to. Remind me to engage on Twitter about this. I'm gonna find my pictures. Back in the day, the dugouts would look like a cigarette.
Yeah,
it would actually have the bottom would be brown. Tan. It would be tan like a cigarette filter, and then white. Yeah, and it would look like a cigarette, but it would be a dugout, and you dig into it and get weed in it, and then just light the end of it and smoke weed.
Yeah,
I have one somewhere. We got to get pictures.
Find it, man.
Those are old school. I don't know. It's probably not good, probably not popular anymore because cigarettes aren't cool anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so but I thought that was kind of like a good first step for me.
That's a very good step. For you. The healthiest step for you is going to be a water pipe or a bong, believe it or not.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why? That's the cleanest?
Because when you use a water pipe or a bong, you're firing up some sort of a neck or a bowl a piece that has the weed in it, right?
Yeah.
When it shoots into the water and then comes up through the water, you're cleaning the hell out of that smoke.
Oh.
You're taking out all the, a bunch of carcinogens and whatever particulate ashes, whatever shooting into your throat if you think about it.
Yeah, so. I never thought about how a bong
actually
works.
Had a real PCP, like a real physician, way before weed. It was never weed talk.
Yeah.
Just admitted to like a PCP doctor back in the primary care physician back in the day that I smoked weed.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, it was an Indian guy, and he's like, okay. He's like, use water pipe or bong. Like, okay, why?
First of all,
less carcinogens, less ashes in your face.
That's the worst Indian accent.
Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to cause trouble. But yeah, he was like, use a water pipe or a bong. That's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Cleans it out the best.
So that's interesting though. So explain this to me. So you're obviously I've seen them, I've seen my friends use them. But you're lighting it as if you were lighting a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into the pipe. And then that's what the bong water sits. I didn't know the smoke goes in it though.
As you suck on it,
it bubbles up.
It into the water.
Yeah.
And the smoke is just being extracted through the water. If you think about it, so the water comes up a bit, but gravity always is going to take the water down. So the smoke strains through the water essentially. If you think about how a water pipe or a bong would work.
Yeah. So why did you choose? Why do you use a bowl over all these other?
Because the only reason why is because it gets dirty after a while. It's just inconvenient. I'm a frequent smoker, so
the bong
is just gross. It's gross bong water, gross pipe water at the end of the day.
I mean, aren't they making them out of materials now that you could just fucking put in the dishwasher and like?
I mean, sure, you could buy a plastic one. It's just, I don't know. But there's a reason why people use glass. It's just, it doesn't, there's less taste. Like it's just easier to use. But yeah, at the end of the day.
But that's definitely not microdosing though.
No, I mean, you can, the problem is that that's like famous last words. Like, take this bong hit and then you're done.
Right.
The problem is, you can make a bong hit thick with full of smoke and take a really thick, crazy tube, or you can make it small. It's just you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If somebody just loads you up a fatty, you're fucked.
Yeah.
you know what you're doing. So yeah, you stick to the one hitters for now, and then eventually we'll get to some advanced play.
No, I mean, I think that's going to be that's definitely going to be my track. So I think, but I mean, I'm not sure. I should check the tracking, but I think it's going to take a couple days to get here. But I'm going to go to the dispensary and start looking at the flower products. So we'll take a look at that and take a look at the menu.
Hybrids for you.
Hybrids, I know.
No sativas. Not with flower. Not to start with flower.
Really?
You'll wig out.
Is that what it is?
Too much thoughts for you. You're too intense and too turned on to begin with. I wouldn't.
I thought it was the indicas that do that.
No, indicas would put you to bed, drive you down.
Right. But this is but the majority of vapes that I purchased are sativas.
Yes.
But don't get sativa.
Not yet. Not with flower. We're not going down that route yet. You're not enough of a hardcore smoker to mess around. The vapes are a little lighter.
Even on a single?
I mean, we can get you a couple of like hybrid sativas.
Yeah.
But I think you should start with hybrids. You should start right in the middle of the scale.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, some advice that I've been giving out to some other folks too, that were sort of, I talked to a lot of people that get, and we had one this week too, but I had this come up before. A lot of people get sort of really sold or really focused on some kind of
strain.
One particular strain that has a name, like Girl Scout cookies or Blue Dream. There's these couple of these strains that seem to have popular names.
Yeah.
Some kind of cool Kush or something, Afghani, whatever,
Yeah.
And then people get really caught up on these percentages, as I've had a tweet that got retweeted a bunch of times when I was talking about percentages. Like, no, stick with this one. I was like advocating for a lower one and talking about how the higher one was okay, but it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. People get caught up with the advertisement and that stuff, and I mean, those are great and all. That's fine, but that's not necessarily like what's going to get you where you want to be. So I talked to a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people that are, they seem to be caught at one end or the other of the spectrum. And that's not really the answer. Like, that you should kind of start more in the middle and then kind of find what you like from those middle effects and then maybe fine tune a little bit.
Yeah. We've had
I'd say the same for you as a rookie.
No, I'll definitely take that advice then. Because actually I was thinking just because I'm using sativa dominant vapes, it would be similar to
you can hang around there, but I'd go one tick lower in with the strains of flower.
So we had some really, really good feedback, really good questions that came through. Some of the Minifans asked us some, and then some from the other community, or just from the general cannabis community. So do you want me to read what this one was?
Yeah. Without getting too personal.
No, I mean, I'll read the tweet. I'll read the direct message, but it's not going to be I won't disclose who it was from, but so this was the message we received. So it said, good afternoon. I've been an MMJ marijuana patient for several years now, and I'm having the most difficult time trying to get to the right strain for my symptoms. So there you go. That's kind of what you were saying. I have had severe depression since my early 20s, and I still go to a therapist twice a week. He's also talking about suffering from back injuries and some back surgeries. And he's got some significant nerve damage in his right leg and foot. So this clearly is a guy who is looking for some relief from a number of different things. So, again, this is new to me. So it sounds like, he's looking for some physical pain symptoms to be relieved, as well as some, obviously stress and anxiety. So I don't know enough about the plant to say, go for this or go for that. But you clearly had a pretty reasonable response. I
mean, the long and short of it for me was based off of what he was saying. He was talking about indicas. I can't remember where we were, but whatever something led me to believe in the moment. I'm missing the exact words, but it was basically, he needs to get back to kind of the middle strains to me, in my opinion, based on what he was saying. Again, kind of one extreme to the other isn't really going to be the answer. Try to kind of blend all together, and then let's see how things feel from there. So I think the plan was to suggest he had also had a couple of different dispensaries he'd gone to, and it sounded like he might have been, I kind of read into, maybe I was wrong, but I read into that he might have been a little frustrated with the dispensaries too. So I suggested a third dispensary and then also threw out their hybrids as well. So please continue.
Yeah. But no, I think you gave him some great advice, and I think it was similar to what you just said to me, which was like point the needle directly to the middle. and then try to reach your desired effect. And I really like that that saying. I actually have been throwing it around myself, just practicing using it. So I think similar to what we're trying to describe when like the language changes in this industry, and how people talk about it as cannabis or sort of medical marijuana. I think that, using more health focused, wellness focused terminology, like how you sort of was describing it, Tim, I think that's sort of a great way to normalize it, right? To sort of, I guess it's like reducing the stigma of saying, don't take a hit of this, man, and you'll fucking get high. It's like this is much more tone.
Go for the unsexy strain that doesn't look like it's that strong.
Right.
And then try that. And then let's kind of figure that out. So like a great example, and it's 4-letter word. We'll get into that in a minute, I'm sure, with Nita and Mike. But Nita, New England Treatment Access, has a great strain that is always there. It's called Flow, or it's Flow OG. They've got like two different flow plants strains that they've always had over there going. It's usually never sold out. There's never like a run on it. It's just kind of always there and always consistent. It's fucking awesome strain. Like it doesn't look like it's usually like 18, 19, 20%. Every once in a while it's a little heavier and somebody jumps on it, gets all exciting. But it's never like this amazing sex. It's just kind of always there. It's just fucking solid, consistent.
Right.
Always going to give you a few good at bats. Always going to give you a few good hits, Yeah. So anyway, those are and then all of a sudden they'll have Girl Scout 32%, and it's like that's on social media, right. And everybody goes there and goes and smokes Girl Scout and wig the fuck out on some crazy ass like heady, crazy strong weed.
So is this? I mean, like it's funny because this really is starting to take the same direction as like the craft beers, don't you think? Because like normally you would just get like you can get your Budweisers or your Bud Lights or your Miller Lights. You can go your Coronas, or you can get a little more fancy and go for like the Sam Adams and Harpoon IPAs, at least if you're local. But then like I feel like once the craft brewery and the craft brew market sort of boomed, now it's all like these fancy graphics, fancy names, and it's like they fucking push the alcohol content to like almost as high as like
and
wine.
Can have the coolest graphics on the can,
right?
And how is it marketed and all that. I mean, that's definitely
like we were just talking about this yesterday. So this is just your Long Trail Vermont IPA, man. But this shit is fucking delicious.
Great. But that doesn't get like any kind of crazy market like Long Trail. Like it's been around forever.
Yeah.
Pretty like normal, like average everyday craft brew. Long Trail's probably been around since like, I would bet they've been around as long as like Sam Adams. I bet late 90s, early 2000s. An old ass brewery.
But this is similar to
right on there.
I would have missed it. Oh, yeah, 1989.
Look at that shit.
Look at that. Craft Brewery 1989.
But they're like, they've just always been doing it.
Consistent. So
same
that's
thing with like Flow and
right.
Flow OG.
So Flow is like the Long Trail.
They're just always there, right? They're just always good, always refreshing,
right?
Always a good weed to smoke,
right?
Always.
So I mean, to be honest, that's the other thing about selection. I was on Sierra's website because I was trying to find the time to get to the dispensary
for an appointment.
And couldn't find anything that worked. So I was basically going to the curbside pickup, which seemed like it was just more accessibility. Like you don't even have to have an appointment. You just basically do it. They text you when you fill out the form on their website, you pick the products, they text you when it's ready, you just drive by like a fucking McDonald's, pick it up and go.
Yeah.
You don't even have to talk to anybody. They just put the bag in your car, they check your card, you're in and out.
And I was saying to you, I heard a little experience. I heard some experiences about this too.
Yeah, right. But my experience was there wasn't a lot of selection. But I was but I didn't have an option to make an appointment. So I was looking at the menu, and I was like getting a little discouraged because like fuck, like I don't like. There's only like 3 choices because I was thinking flower. I was only 3 choices of bud. And I was like, I don't know what to get here. And there was also like a reduced amount of like cartridges, and there was only like 2 flavors of gummies, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
And
like
you said it was all the expensive stuff too.
Well, it was super expensive. Like the flower products were like $60-$70 for an eighth or something ridiculous. I mean, everything else was within like a couple of bucks, but like, I mean, the vape cartridges were the same. I think they were like 50 or 55, but it was the flower products and the other things, because that was the thing I was interested in. And I was like, what the fuck? So I ended up not making the sale. I was like, I have enough to carry. This is Saturday now.
Yeah.
So it's going to carry me over. And then I was just trying to make an appointment this week.
So, and I had a similar, so I figured that I didn't know, like, I didn't realize this was all going on. And then you told me this and I picked up on something. So I was standing a couple weeks ago. They were just held up and I think they were like changing staff or something. They asked me to wait outside for a few minutes, being safe, all good, whatever, totally fine. So I stood up, but I wound up standing outside for like 10 extra minutes waiting to get in, to just even get signed in and like get the process started, which is pretty unusual. But again, whatever, being safe, it's all good. Somebody walks up while I'm online, while I'm standing there waiting, and he's asking if this is the pickup line. And then he's basically like, never mind, fuck it, I'm going to make an appointment. He's kind of frustrated because he's like, yeah, I was trying to make same thing. He's like, I'm trying to do the pickup line and it's different product for the pickup line. So I figured it out. What it is they're only selling their top shelf stuff for pickup. Like basically like they're not getting out of bed for the extra service unless you're going to go buy the good stuff and you're going to buy a decent amount of it. So,
but I thought that was fucking bullshit.
It's weird. I mean, you go in and there's plenty of other product.
I mean, they lost the sale because I was going to go in, but there wasn't.
Yeah, you just. Yeah.
I mean, because I wasn't in a place where I could make the appointment and go in person. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to go.
If you're already grabbing other stuff and handing it to people out the door, why can't we just?
I don't see why
give me the cheaper stuff
menu.
too.
Yeah.
So like none of like the like you can get the Nantucket nugs, so they're just smaller nugs, they're not as fancier, but they're still usually top out around 18, 19, 20%. Good strong buds.
Yeah,
just a different
similar
grower.
To your flow.
Yeah, it's like a flow. Yeah, and it's just another grower that Sierra works with, Nantucket nuggets, but they're just not as flashy and showy as some of the other nugs. So they're usually a little bit cheaper. You can usually get a quarter of Nantucket nugs for like $70, which is pretty awesome. $10 a gram. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And you say ground flour is ground flour, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to ground it up. You're going to grind it up anyway.
Right.
You can't get that Nantucket nugs for the pickup. You have to go into the dispensary and do the regular appointment to get that, to access that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the heck that's all about.
I don't either. But I mean, honestly, what it also made me think about was going to another dispensary. We only have one that's within like a couple minutes of us.
That's why I go. It's just because it's so easy.
Yeah, it's so convenient.
I used to go to Nita Brookline all the time back in the day.
I can't even imagine going there.
It's chaos.
I mean, it's all the way down.
I mean, now I'd reserve ahead. I wouldn't do pickup, but I do you can always do reserve ahead, which I've done there, and it works great. But I couldn't imagine standing on the lines or dealing with any of that stuff. Even as a medical, you still stand on the line.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing to me is that, like, that's still part of the experience that I'm looking for. Just being so new in here, I still like talking to people. I still want to like go inside and get the look and the feel. Like I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. So even though we have a
just getting 5 minutes to talk to the bud tender is a good,
because we talk, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to walk in and I mean, like, I still have questions. And then sometimes those questions led to other things that I purchased. You know that because we've had a whole conversation. I go in and I come out not having anything what you recommended.
What I loved too back in the day was it was so communal. Yeah, you never followed my advice. That's okay.
Just
what I loved back in the day though, when you'd make appointments and you'd be in there with like 5 other people. And you'd wind up talking to the people that you're standing online with too. So that was cool. Like I'd just meet and talk to lots of people there, which was always cool too. Just hearing other people's experiences. Oh, what are you getting today? What are you going to buy? What are you looking at on the menu? Because everybody's in there with like a paper menu, holding it, like thinking about what they're going to get. When you used to go into Nita, they'd hand you a big book, like a menu book, as you walked in, and you'd stand online. Nita was cool too because they actually had a journal. So people would go in and write their experiences from different strains and then share that. They'd like leave that journal in the waiting room and like share that with people too, which was pretty cool. So I don't know how communal it is now with like as big and crazy as it is now. And especially with it being rec, I'm not sure if it's that same warm and huggy feelings.
I mean, that's I guess the interesting thing for me too is like, I guess when you get into a new industry, I guess when people have been drinking beer forever. But when the craft beer market came online, I think a lot of people started to look at it as a sort of like a hobby. So now you can just like go into a craft beer store and have like these long drawn out kind of conversations. So I almost feel like that's kind of where I am with this industry. I'm just getting involved in it. I'm just sort of participating in it. And like, I feel like now I'm like so into like, oh man, you smoke? Like, what do you smoke? Like,
I'm wearing a shirt of a craft brewery right now. Shout out Footbridge Brewery in Booth Bay Harbor, Maine. Again, a little bit of.
Never brought back a 6-pack or anything for me to try.
I'll tell you why, because they were like a brewery and tap room last year when they opened up, and now with COVID they can't have the tap room open, so now they are actually selling growlers. So I should bring you back a growler.
Please
Actually,
do.
no, I did. You did drink out of the growler.
Oh, you did. Yeah, but
and we were fucking around with my boat motor.
Wasn't it warm though?
It wasn't that warm. You claimed it was warm. It was not that warm. It was fine. It was an ale, so it wasn't like a crispy lager like you were hoping for. It was also a hot day. We were fucking around with that boat motor out there.
That's true. Whatever happened to that boat? It's still there. That motor.
The motor's in my garage. It's ready to go.
Yeah, never got a
I
launch.
need a boat to put on it.
I know.
I need a boat.
I reached out, man. No one got back to me with any good leads. So
I gotta put it on a dinghy up in Maine or something. I think at some point. But
yeah,
I wish I had we need like an aluminum, like a 14-foot aluminum fishing
launch
boat for this thing.
Right.
Yeah, launch boat.
Fuck.
Jersey kid launch.
Jersey's a hotspot. Fucking Margate.
Is it
is
spiked up?
Yeah, man. That's like you go down there now. You're coronified.
No,
like
thanks.
it's like in the drinking water. So
yeah, that's why I'm staying around Maine. It's like 107 deaths total from the entire pandemic in Maine.
Yeah.
3,000 cases, I think, like total ever. Something like that.
Maybe they have the cure in their water. Maybe they should bottle that shit up.
I think it's just the simple fact that there's like a million people in all of Maine.
Right.
There's like a million people in this county.
Versus like, yeah, exactly. A million people in like 1 mile square radius.
Yep. Yeah. But no, the NITA stuff, I thought that was interesting. I would, and I know obviously we have some things to talk about with good old NITA and the review of all of the craziness on Twitter and everything that's going on with the latest there, especially with Mike and the Young Jerks and the union and all of the craziness over there.
I mean, I just want to say something. I bust balls, man, and so that's what I'm doing. So I know people are getting upset, but if I smell, I'm like a fucking shark, man. If I smell blood,
there's a few people that are upset on both sides. It's interesting.
Who
Everybody. I mean, it seems to have ignited quite a bit of passion on both sides of the argument.
Well, I mean, like
whether it be Chief or Mar or whether it be Mike and his crew, like everybody seems to get very into things.
You know, and I was saying this to you yesterday, but like the electricity around this equity business is just fucking, it's like a fucking lightning storm right now, man. This is like a hurricane. Like, I mean, I don't know. And I was trying to talk with you and philosophize about like why the fuck is it happening now? You know, of all the times, you know, what's going on right now. And there's so much of it having to do with like, I mean, first there's been a failure up until this point, right? That's the most obvious. And so there's clearly a group of people who feel they have been, like their opportunity in this industry has been ripped from their arms, basically, and given to, you know, people who, you know, they think are just like these ginormous multiple state organizations that are just in it for the money. And so that was like probably the first thing. The second thing, obviously, is the whole Black Lives Matter thing.
Kind of good timing for all of that in a weird, crazy way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about the population of people who equity was developed for, the equity program, at least in the state of Massachusetts, it's for the Black and the brown community. So there's just all this charged energy, and it's coming out, man. It's coming strong, and I think a lot of people are very sensitive about the issues right now, because I feel like now people are starting to sense it's like their time, but everyone is trying to get at it. It's like almost like there's like, I look at it as like it's like this dead whale that's like cannabis, and these guys are like hungry sharks, right? So they just, again, they get that trail of blood, and now they're all trying to get in at the same time, but there's a limited amount of, it's like this bottleneck, right? The cannabis industry can be,
it's bottleneck for everybody, much less
because no one can get in,
or
can't get a license, all this fucking like community hosting agreements, all these things are causing this delay. So you've got this fucking, all this energy and these people pushing trying to get to cannabis, but there's like, it's like the fucking bong, man. It's like the one hitters, they're clogged up. It's clogged fucking one hitter.
Question: what is the name of the dispensary that is minority owned in Boston?
That's Pure Oasis.
Pure Oasis.
Yeah.
So I was looking at Pure Oasis, just checking out their menu, and the only thing I noticed that I thought was interesting was that their prices are not as competitive as some of the quote unquote big cannabis companies as well. It's a little bit more expensive to buy weed there. From what they had, they didn't have as much selection, and I noticed that it was a bit more expensive. So I just wonder, with competition stuff. I mean, again, they different model. They look like they're kind of more of their advertising or their marketing promotes them more as like, or makes them look, gives me at least the impression that they're more of a boutique weed dispensary, but it didn't look like it was that fancy of weed. It didn't look like it was like extra strong or something. Like I didn't know. It didn't seem to justify the cost compared to 5 other dispensaries that have better prices and more selection.
I mean, I guess if you're looking at it from a business perspective, I mean, a small shop is never going to have the same inventory as the larger corporations. I mean,
totally.
Like the Rev clinics that have 3 locations, and
so then I'm kind of back to like the business side of things. Then I don't know how anybody, I don't care if it's minority or not. How is a new small fish competing with the Walmart of the weed industry now? Right.
But I think that's Chief's stance, because Chief is talking about competition. He keeps bringing that up, right? And he believes that competition drives quality, it drives customer service, because like you have to, if you're selling weed, this guy's selling weed. I mean, it's still a premium. You know, we're not at the point now where like weed is sold in 7-Elevens, right? So you're going to be going to a fancy place no matter what. All of these places are, in my opinion, at least the ones in the Boston area, have an appeal that's more modern, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm a new, let's say you and I are given a license. Just let's say we get through that bullshit, craziness, and we decide to put out, we open up our store, we start working our products and doing our thing. And we've got 3 or 4 strains of weed, and we've got 5 or 6 vapes and a couple different edibles. If we're not within $10 of every price point that the 5 other big dispensaries have,
we're losing business.
I don't understand how we compete. Now you can add in all these other things about minorities and equity and this and that, which are all extremely important. I don't again, half the reason why I've even just been cautious about all of this is because I take it so seriously. But how the fuck is anybody competing against those big companies no matter what?
Yeah, but again, I don't think the expectation is to be able to compete. Like, you're not going to be able to buy in bulk. You can't get the same price probably per ounce.
I mean, you can buy wherever. I remember looking, whatever. I'm pretty sure I'm saying this right. That Oasis is like, it's only on the other side of town from fucking Patriot. Patriot has they're like one of the first ones. Like they're huge. They have everything.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak. I don't work in any of these shops, so I don't know. I mean,
I would challenge anybody that's listening to this, anybody that's into this, like, check out the menus. Massachusetts lets you put the prices. We didn't used to be able to put the prices on, so that was the other thing. Like, there was no prices back in the day. They changed that within the last year or so. That's changed. So look at the prices. Look them up. Check out the menus. I find it interesting. I don't see how they compete anyway.
Yeah.
Unless I'm going in there and getting some special service, or I'm getting a real one-on-one.
I think, unfortunately, I think for you and probably for we're not going to get the experience that they're selling. I do believe that their market is more to a more urban population. Like, I feel like, I mean, that's what Mar was saying. Mar was talking about the beautiful Black people that shop there. He's like, you want to see some beautiful Black people? Like, go to Oasis. They've got a great, it's like, and so I almost feel like, that's their niche. I mean, I just feel
like, I mean, for me, that seems like, I mean, does that matter? Are people talking about beautiful Black people when they go to buy when they're buying, I don't know, a jacket for the best price, or a pair of shoes for the best price? Like, I don't.
Well, I think
price is price, I would imagine. Like,
I think it does count. I think you're right.
I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive or ignorant here. Maybe this is another show of my ignorance. But I think I would imagine that price is price. I don't care who's giving it to me.
Yeah, I feel like if you were living in that area, and you were, I mean, again, we're playing this hypothetical game. But if you're an African American
and I want to give back and I want to do business in my community,
you're going to pay. You might feel that.
Or I can spend $2 on for the tea and take 3 stops over and go to a way better dispensary and spend way less money. I don't know.
Again, I think it comes down to personal preference. I don't know. For me, the way that I've always been,
and I'm not saying like shit on the movement of that. Like, that's like I would love as an idealist, I would love to be like, yeah, the community is going to stand up for this dispensary, and they're going to spend the extra $10 because it's their community. I'd love to think that. I don't know that people would really do that. I think they're going to spend $2 to save 10.
Yeah, I mean, again,
and go two stops up.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know if that's a long-term model, because what Kobe Evans created isn't going to be the same once a lot of other equity empowerment applicants or SE applicants or even like delivery service. Like there's going to be like the competition is going to be way up in because right now there might be in his hometown, in his neighborhood, he might be the only one available, right?
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Like, I'd love to talk to him about. Like,
Yeah,
and these are not like knocks on him at all, or
Yeah.
his business. I think it's great that that he exists. I think it's awesome that there's a minority-owned business. I'm curious as to like what is the niche. Maybe he has a different niche, or maybe there is an element of that neighborhood or that community engagement component that means something that does draw people in. But I'd like to hear what that is.
Well, it's funny because you say right. So the way that Purian is marketed, right? It's marketed to any users or consumers, but it's the first like African American weed, like the way that I feel like the way that they advertise it and the way that Mar was talking about it, like it's an African American brand, or was made from an African American family. So I feel like that has.
But you stopped yourself. You almost said an African American weed product.
Well,
that's the key, and that's the question. It's absolutely an African American brand, and it's a somewhat successful brand, and it's clipping along.
But that's the niche. It's like
a niche product.
Yeah,
that's the product. It's not weed.
No, but what I'm trying to say is
that shit, and that's the problem, right?
But that's part of what he's selling. He's selling a product that he obviously believes in. His wife believes in. It's a great thing, but a part of it is also the culture. Like he's selling. Like there's a cultural component.
Buy into the fact that this is us. This is made by us. This is back to the
so I think
that's back to Fubu, for us, by us, back in the day. The clothing brand. I get it.
Yeah.
But
that's pure Oasis.
Yeah, I'm asking about the.
But you're not going to compete. So I don't know. But you can't compete. So there's no competition. Competition is driven by. I mean, when in the end of the day, when it comes to buying weed, if you're just doing it for the price,
service, product, price.
Yeah. Service.
How are you getting me?
Product, price.
Talk to us, Kobe. How you getting it, buddy? What is it? What's the angle? He's got an angle. He's alive. He's doing it. He's in the business. So
true.
He's got an angle, but what is it?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's price and quantity and availability. It's whatever's going on in there. It's some kind of an experience. And then I'd love to hear how that experience has been affected by fucking COVID and everything else that's going on.
Well, they also got broken into and
they got
several $100,000. Yeah. Fuck. Like I think it was like $200,000.
I remember you tweeted that out. Yeah. I forgot about
product
that.
stolen.
Jesus.
Which is insane.
Come on and talk to us, Kobe. I want to hear all about it. Man.
Kobe will reach out to you.
So interesting.
Oh, so we're at 51 minutes already.
That was good. That's good. Any other comments about your boy Mike or Grant or anything else you'd like to say about the latest events on Twitter with regards to mask policy and some of the back and forth you've had since Chief came on last week?
I think I have a lot to say. I'm going to save it.
If you were going to summarize to keep us at our hour long promise, like we were thinking, what would you say?
I think there's some real shady shit going on behind the scenes. I think a lot of what I'm saying on Twitter is true. I think that there's a motivation that has something more to do than with the community that they feel like they're supporting. I think there's a huge personal investment for both of them to do what they're doing. So they're trying to gear a lot of their energy and production and content to attract what is going to make them famous or rich,
or particularly with this union giving them some sponsorship and sort of helping them push their agenda as well.
So I actually and truthfully believe that they're compromised. I don't think they can come back to the middle. I feel like they were when we met them. None of this was going. I mean, some of the policy stuff was happening, but it was more around the social things, where now I feel like it's getting into more money driven.
Well, that was
employment driven, sacrificing people driven.
And he talked about that on our show and was talking about how he's like, I've taken money before, but it was with MassCan and it was like for marketing stuff with like the conference. Like I'm pretty sure he laid that. I remember him talking about that on our show, even saying like all these other people are taking money and I'm, the independent. And then a couple months later, here we are. There's a fucking union banner underneath the podcast
on their screen.
And then everything I see tweeted out is like stuff in support of the union. Again, I actually believe in the most dysfunctional roundabout way in all of this. I actually believe that there should be a union for these people, but only for one simple reason,
which
and
is
not all of these other silly things that are going on. So again, and I'll summarize my point real quick, just because I agree with you on the shadiness piece here a little bit. So the reason why there should be a union protecting these NITA workers or any dispensary worker, there's a reason for a union discussion to be had. I guess it's not the only reason, but there's a reason why union discussion should be had with dispensary workers, because they are not protected by OSHA. If you are dealing with a state situation, then that means the state, if you're dealing with something that is not recognized by the federal government, OSHA, the protecting safety body, the Occupational Health and Safety Organization, I believe is what it is, employment organization, something like that, is a federal organization that protects you from that level down. There's obviously stuff before and after that, but you've got Mama Bear watching over you. You don't have that if you work in the marijuana industry, because these are all state-driven employment and initiatives and not recognized by the feds. That's reason enough alone to introduce another counterbalance of having a union potentially there, just for that alone. My problem is that I've listened to the show several times about these union topics that have come up where Mike's hosted these people, and I've seen social media tweets, flyers. I've seen misspelled flyers, poorly written messages, bad grammar, just like shit that a fifth grader should know. And then and the people that we're talking to, that we're listening to, that are either union reps or wanting to join the union or fired from NITA, they're not articulating the point about what's happening at all. They're not giving any salient point or legit information about what I just said or what's happening. All they're doing is saying, give me this. I deserve this. We need to protect, the quotes are like, we need to protect the people. Like, from what? What do you mean? Oh, well, there's bugs. Okay, what does that mean? Like, you're not forming a fucking point here. You're not telling me why there's a reason for this organization. The only one that's making the real point, and so much to the point that the only time I've actually heard the real reason is Mike telling us on our show.
Yeah. And actually,
sorry, last thing, last 10 seconds, then I promise I'm done. Where I think it's kind of shady, where I agree with you, just to close this all up, is Mike's the only one making the real points for the union. The union dopes and the people that the union might be roping in, they don't even really have like the real true understanding, other than here's somebody who's going to protect you and might pay you more.
And so this is basically what I was thinking. And I mean, this is where, like, you remember that there was a short video, the Patriot Act. You know what they're talking about, like the big cannabis or cannabis in general is like, it's like the mafia. I mean, like, but think about this, okay? So Mike is a popular radio host. He breaks good news. He breaks stories. Like, when I had the most respect for Mike, it was when he broke the news of the net employees who were working in horrific environment. And he broke that story, and he had people brave enough to come on. That was the Mike that I knew. That's the Mike that I was looking up to, and who I was thinking that we could be a huge role model for as a person and as a show. I was like, man, we're gonna fucking model ourselves after these guys. And then slow and surely, I just started to follow, like, the money, and I could see that they were sponsored by certain people and certain, they were all over the place.
Well, it seemed like he did a good thing and then took advantage of the situation.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. And then so this thing, they announced like this new sponsorship from this 1443 whatever, blah blah blah,
the local
whatever. So they said the banner is like on the website. All of a sudden they're sponsored by these guys, and then the next 2 or 3 or 4 weeks leading up to now is all this fucking energy that Mike is now the spokesperson for this union. As you said, they can't put into words to the community, because we're talking about now people who are in the cannabis community. So it's like you said, this is like a gold rush, right? They're looking at this industry now. If this union can start to organize the marijuana employees now, dude, I mean, think about how much money they're going to be fucking making if as this grows.
Industry that popped up.
Huge industry.
They could expand into further areas of the industry. So it could just be grow house dispensary workers. Then
Yeah.
it could turn into people that make vapes.
Yeah.
Then it could turn into people that are blowing glass for
Right.
pipes. Like
Right.
the expansion is
Right.
huge
But-
if you think about it.
So this is my connection to the mafia, because this is what I'm thinking about as Mike. So Mike is Jimmy Hoffa. So Mike is putting himself in a position, right, with the community support and now with the union support to get on the Cannabis Control Commission. Remember, he broke that news on our show.
Yeah,
He finished his application. He applied to be on the CCC.
Yeah.
Right. So he's fucking Jimmy Hoffa. So he's going to get elected to the board potentially. Right. I don't know how many applicants there are. I have no idea how long this is going to take. There hasn't been any commissioner who has been approved by the community. Everyone up there is either like a lawyer or have had, a tremendous amount of corporate experience leading up to being, one of the first 5, basically.
Yeah.
So essentially, all of this energy is being put behind Mike, because Mike's now the single applicant. So he gets put on the board. Let's just play this one out. So he's got the union whispering in one ear. He's got, his friends from the EE like whispering in the other. Like he's now like fucking Jimmy Hoffa, man. Power hungry, wants the fame. He wants to be on that stage. I bet you he fucking jerks off. He's fucking coming all over the walls, just like thinking about sitting in that seat next to Shailene on one side. You know what I mean? Steven on the other. Like he just, oh man, he's fucking jugs full of cum. This guy thinking about that. But that's what I'm saying. That's where I feel like he's fucking compromised. Like I cannot see it differently now. When I look at him, every single show that they've had in the last 4 or 5 weeks, ever since they took this sponsor on, has been, in my opinion, fucking
just union.
That's it.
So then so my big question too is like, Mike's at the end of the day, Mike's a weed advocate and a fellow stoner with me. I've never been blocked by Mike.
Well,
we're always gonna be cool because I'm gonna keep my my stoner and doctor status with him at all times, right? But what happens in like 6 months when he wants to talk about some other weed policy? Where's the union gonna be?
Okay, so I didn't finish.
The union doesn't give a shit about weed policy.
I didn't finish the story.
Sorry.
So Mike's Jimmy Hoffa, right? But who's the mafia, right?
I mean, that's the big cannabis.
No, it's fucking Grant, man.
Oh, you think Grant's the mom? Okay.
Grant has his hand up Mike's ass, and Mike's the puppet, because Grant was supposed to be, remember this story, Grant was supposed to be the nominee from the community to apply, and he missed one small little detail. The motherfucker who goes, the H.5.33.2.1, that motherfucker talks like that.
Yeah. What did he miss?
There has to be, there can't be a majority of a single party on the commission. So there was 2. I think at the time there was like 3 Democrats and like 2 unenrolled or something of that nature.
Okay.
And then the commissioner left, and the new commissioner who would be appointed had to have been either Republican. It couldn't be a Democrat. You could not be a registered Democrat. You can either be only a Republican or unenrolled, because there can't be this like one-sided party on the board. So he fucked up. He fucked up, which was so funny because he doesn't fuck up.
Because he was registered Democrat and
he missed that little fucking bylaw. So that's why he's like, he fucking was like, oh man, what the fuck am I gonna do? Mike.
Gotta have Mike.
And Mike. And the thing about Mike is he's a great guy, but I feel like he's easily taken advantage of. And I say that because he's gone through all of these co-hosts, right?
Fucking dog.
Fucking mutt. Mike just rotates co-hosts.
He has.
He's had like 10.
I've listened to the old podcasts
He's
and the old radio
like
shows. There's a lot of other folks back there.
And Grant, the brains, was like, I'm going to get on this podcast and I'm going to use Mike. So that's what's going on.
Got it.
Mike's the puppet. Grant's the fucking master.
Yeah. And then
Grant,
Grant,
he's the puppeteer.
And obviously Grant has his ties to Shailene and everybody else too. Clearly.
Right. And he's got his fingers based on what Mars reporting. Mars reporting that he's also he also has an influence on like the SE population. So he's a part of a group who are training the SEs. So he's the magician, man. And Mike's the mirror. Mike's like the fucking so Grant's running the fucking show.
What's Grant do for work, like just normally? Like, how's he paying the bills in general?
I mean, all I know is he's disabled.
Like, I know what Mike's done to like work hard.
He's a dog walker.
Yeah, and he's busted his ass, and he's also done this and made a career out of this in a lot of ways. Obviously, it's on and off radio, things like that, dying and having to change. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Mike's been a good host.
He has a record,
preacher.
He has a record that you can follow.
Yeah, Grant. I can't really find Grant.
I mean, I know.
I haven't looked that hard, but
no. I know a little bit of family history, but I'm not going to disclose that because it's none of our business.
Yeah.
But
we're thinking career stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All I've known from anything that he's put out there publicly or has said publicly, he's disabled. So I don't think he's working.
Got it.
I think he obviously talks a lot about his graduate school work. I don't even know if he has a degree or if he finished, but
talks a lot about random fucking politics and that he's read and fancy leather bound books.
But you always said he's a smart dude, man, and
he is very smart.
So he's the fucking brains behind this operation.
Got it.
That's
the latest conspiracy theory from Super Lemon Haze, motherfuckers.
This is Channel Zero. Hope you're listening to this one. That plug-in Channel Zero, another show on the
the conspiracy show. Love it.
This is your fucking shit right here, man. We're fucking living your conspiracy. We're doing all the work for you, man.
Maybe we can come on and share.
We're doing the hard work
with them. Yeah.
Well, we always talked about doing a crossover. Actually, those are the first people that I invited to do the rundown with us.
Right.
I reached out to those guys. I'm like, hey, let's do a fucking crossover. Let's do that. But it didn't work out. They said no.
Well, maybe they'll be interested in this one.
Yeah. So that's it, man. So Mike gets on the board. He doesn't know he has no idea what the fuck he's doing.
Right.
But Grant's his consultant. Grant's, then he probably would even hire Grant.
Well, I thought it was interesting that, the only thing that we didn't really talk about when we mentioned the interview the other day with Chief was I thought it was interesting that Mike was nowhere to be found on any of that. Like when that interview aired, it was just Grant.
They pay attention, man.
Is that
what you mean?
No, I just mean like there was no Mike wasn't in that. It was just an interview with Grant and Shalene. There was no Mike involved in that interview.
Oh, and I think that's on purpose.
Right. But I find that that's interesting to me. Now all of a sudden Grant is hosting the Young Jerks.
Yeah.
And he's interviewing Shalene. Where Mike, with all that fucking pomp and circumstance, and you're on with the Young Jerks. This is Mike. Yeah. All that stuff, the classic radio host voice that he has. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, Grant's just on his show.
This is all. I mean, this is what I'm saying. This is very.
I'm thinking.
Very calculated.
These thoughts are all coming to me as I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's okay. But I think about this all the time. It's highly calculated.
I know you think about it all the time. You're also on Twitter, fucking with these people all the time too.
It's so easy. Mike, it's so easy. It's so easy. I mean, I'm a Minifan, man. You have no idea. We're capable of fucking. We're capable of
complete destruction.
Oh my god! Crazy. And I have never. It's only now that there's a sprinkle of Minifans that are supporting us. Like today was one of those.
Yeah, sure.
I think was it Chris and Methuen?
Yeah.
Shout out Chris, what's up, man?
Madawaska Rob.
Oh, he loves us. Yeah. Dano, we've got a couple Minifans now.
Link from Hyrule, he's always looking out for us.
Oh, Link loves us.
He's actually Link smokes weed. He's got a bowl. I've seen. He's shown
everyone. Yeah, there's a lot of weed smokers.
Yeah, we've definitely got some of the weed smoker Minifans.
Yeah,
for us.
That's actually talking about smoking weed. So Robbie Fox was on the Minahan show. Did you listen to that as well?
I didn't hear that. So I saw the tweets and had them arguing with each other. I didn't hear him go on yet. I'm catching up to that.
I mean, the drama's bullshit. I think
Robbie and Kirk like each other. I know that for a fact.
I mean, this is what it comes down to now. I mean, and Kirk talked about this on that episode, but Kirk's like their father. He's technically older,
way older.
Well, he's in his early 40s, right?
Yeah,
but these are like in their mid to young 20s,
early 20s.
Yeah,
Robbie Fox is like, I don't know,
that
Robbie
22
Fox is
or
like
something.
21.
Yeah. So there's gonna be this cultural divide. So whenever anyone is going to criticize anyone from Barstool, you're automatically criticizing this crew of the sorority
Yeah, when
or this
when
fraternity.
you have Big Cat and KFC or the like elder statesmen and
Right.
like 34,
Yeah.
35 years old. KFC's like 36.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, okay.
Yeah. So there's always going to be this cultural sort of shift. But like, so Robbie, so I guess there was this whole Kate thing, this Kate blog. Everyone jumped on it. She got so upset. She was she basically broke. She broke fast.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
And I think Robbie Fox got upset, made some tweets, came on the show to apologize. And the first thing he said, or one of the first things he said was, he was saying he apologized for the way he acted. He was acting out of impulse. And then he said, man, I've been out of weed. He's like, it's like, I've been out of my fucking product.
That's the problem right there.
Right. That's funny. That's what Marsh said too, man. He's like, if we all just like smoked weed together, we'd all get along.
It would be so much easier. So much easier. Best thing that Chief could have done was just fire that blunt up and hang out with us. That's like, I feel like those have been our best interviews. Those are always our best conversations.
Yeah. But I'm gonna just, the last thing I'm gonna say about with the Shakia thing, that was part of what I said, man. I was like, hey, after we sort of confirmed the time and the day, I'm like, dude, I'm like, bring a joint, bring a glass,
come hang out,
bring a glass of beer, hang out with us. Like that's the style.
Yeah.
And fuck, man, I haven't found out who told her not to be on, and I have my suspicions, but I don't think it was who the obvious people are. I think I know who it was, but we'll never. I mean, I don't know, you think we'll ever find out? She'll never tell us.
I'm sure it'll go away. That's not going to happen. It's just a bummer that she wouldn't come on. What was going to be so bad?
Nothing.
Like what?
She thought that I was going to give her some sort of gotcha
some kind
moment.
Of horrible gotcha thing.
I think fucking Grant. I think Grant pulled some strings, man.
Probably.
I mean, I think it was either Grant or some other people.
It would be good if we could convince the Rev Clinics boys to go on and talk to the young jerks, though, because
they had every chance, man.
And work through the Mike's version of what he thinks might be a gotcha moment, because he's that's the problem, is we kind of have two sides saying the same thing right there. We have to broker that somehow.
I mean, that's the place that we were when we started.
Shakia should feel safe coming on here. Rev should feel safe being able to go on to the young jerks without a fucking union sponsorship underneath it. That's the problem now.
I mean, I somewhat ruined a little bit of that. I think.
Sure.
I apologize, but I apologize to you. I don't apologize to. I'm not apologizing for what I said.
You're a catalyst that was still. It was going to if it's not you, it's somebody else that causes this, and everybody draws their lines and fast. What blows my mind is that how fast. It's not you, because anybody can come in and throw a few stones and piss people off.
Yeah,
you do it very well. I'll give you credit. But what blows my mind is how fast they fucking drew their lines and then retracted to their home bases. And it's a very evident of the problems in our world today, even with just with politics, that you have to be on one side of the aisle or the other. Like, no, there's a whole bunch of shit in the middle here. Why can't we? And I think the problem is that you're saying, let's talk that out, and we're not getting that.
I mean, that's what I've always wanted to promote the show as. And I think I really do need to dial some of the intensity down just a little bit, I feel like, because I don't want to piss people off. I think I will regret that Shakia thing. But again, I don't remember doing anything out of the ordinary in the beginning. And I think it was the fact that she decided she wasn't going to come on without a legitimate reason, where it was very obvious that someone told her not to.
She blew you off.
Yeah.
And then when you called her out,
and then I got upset.
She got pissed.
Right. And then I overreacted. I wasn't being vigilantly like disrespectful. All I was trying to say at that point was, I mean, I really did want to talk about why the thing fucking sucks. Why the system that she was in charge of for 2 years hasn't produced any equity in the whole system. So I think she took that as I was going to give her some sort of gotcha moment.
No, just tell us what your challenges were.
But I would have asked.
Right.
I would have. I mean, I don't know.
And it's clear. I mean, she clearly has some wins. Like there's some pieces that she moved. Like she got the ball down the field. There's like you can read some stuff. Like, do we have an equity partner? Is it fully fledged? No.
Yeah.
But there was zero before she got there, and she's created some. So I think the problem is that she probably feels that her work would be disrespected somehow or some way because we're challenging that. But I think it's not. It's more of a let's go over it. Let's find out like what was the barrier. What were your challenges? Let's just be honest about them.
Well, again, I think it was. So I'm going to be honest. I think Shailene told her not to come on.
Probably, sure.
But I think she didn't. She told her not to come on.
It was probably a combination of the same folks that are against what we
that same fucking hive.
But like, all right, so we're both in the corporate world. You implement a project.
Yeah.
You go through some initiative. If it could be a big initiative, it could take a couple years, it could take a couple months, whatever it is. At the end of it, if the initiative fails or is successful or any level of degree in between, I don't think you're getting at a legit real corporate job where you have established credibility. You're not getting fired because people are asking some questions about that. You should probably share what was good, what was bad, what was best practices, what you learned, what you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
What are opportunities for success for the future? What are some of the shortcomings, things that we should avoid next time? Stuff like that. That seems like the conversation. That's what I thought the conversation we were going to have.
That's what I wanted.
So to be so, I don't understand why we're so emotional. Or the vibe I got was that this got so emotional that this was an attack on a house that she had built. Whereas, be proud of the house you built, and then let's talk about what you didn't get done.
So again, this to me, I think for Shakia it comes down to loyalty, which I respect.
Right, you have to deal with. Right?
And I think for Shailene or Grant, it was one of the two, or the two of them combined, told her not to come on.
Yeah.
Because the same day that she said she wasn't going to come on, she committed to going on their show. So it wasn't, I don't think Shailene is going to reach out to Grant and say, hey, can you have her on?
Yeah.
I think what happened was the two of them communicate often. I'm sure they're on a daily stream. Grant is feeding her all this policy information and all what's going on in the community. He's like the fucking mole. I'm telling you, he's like the fucking brains.
And then she's not going to want to, Shakia's not going to leave that organization, leave that group.
No, so she probably looks at them as a potential. Yeah, I mean, again, you always think about
burning a bridge as you go.
Yeah, like pick your friends, but like she obviously, I think she's loyal to Shailene. Shailene told her not to go on. Shailene probably also is extremely upset with Mar being on our show, who has produced a lot of offensive material, like graphics about her.
Yeah. Well, you've got an equity washout in chief, or a guy who's said fuck this to the system, to that program and that system, and then you've got another one who's putting out some pretty explicit content regarding their opinions and thoughts about the organization.
Yeah, those political cartoons are definitely
pretty explicit.
Yeah, they are,
but they're made to catch people's eye. So
I mean, that's why they draw them out.
Certainly what she's doing. So, but yeah, no, all interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover, man. We're gonna keep fucking going.
We seem to have found what gets the people fired up, though. A healthy dosage of weed talk and then some policy.
We talk policy.
A little bit of
That's
both.
Us, man. That's you plus me.
A little bit of both.
You plus me. All right, motherfuckers. Peace. I think we're off next week, right?
Off next week. I'm going to Maine.
Next week.
I'm gonna go buy some more cheap weed in Maine. Let's do it. We can do a
maybe we can try remote or I don't know, depending on how the week goes, because I'm on vacation next week too, but I'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If something happens between now and then, maybe I'll grab someone to just do something. Who knows? Yeah. But if it's just you and I think we could probably just push it off. A little phone call.
Yeah, either push it off or we'll check in next week.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Well, the whole fucking internet thing that happened the last time.
We won't let that happen again, and I won't pass out this time either. Super Lemon Haze.
All right, Super Lemon Haze, motherfuckers. Peace.
What is this?
Is it over?
We're running out of time.
I don't want to hear your excuses. No, it's not fair. Where'd all the finals go?